So today we're going to talk about how you can make verbs, which are action words, so something that you do, like this person, they are running, into present in the moment. How to let the person know that what you're talking about is right now. So verbs are action words, and we can change them to talk about different times. So depending on how you say them or how you write them, it can mean present in the moment, past, before right now, or future, which is after right now. So what will happen. So today we're going to talk about how to make verbs mean right now in the present. So I'm going to give you some vocabulary words that if you don't know what they mean in English, I would tell you to look it up in a translator so you know what say means in Spanish or Swahili or Tagalog, whatever language that you speak. So the first one is, and these are very common words verbs that people say. So the first one is going to be say. So they say wash your hands for 20 seconds. So that's the verb say. The next verb is make dinner, go. You can use that by saying go to the store. Take is take care or take some food. Come home or come back. See the sky, see people. Get is just get a dog or get something. Give money, give food. Find keys, find a phone. So if you could try to memorize these verbs and just know what they mean, that will really help you because these are used all the time. People use these a lot in English. So when we use the verb go, to make it present, we just keep it the same and we put it right after the person or the thing that we're talking about. And we don't need to put am or is after it. We just say I go. So the verb I go home at 3. So when you use the present verb, it tells the person that you do it a lot. So present we know means in the moment, but this kind of present is a little bit different because when you say I go home at 3, it means that you do it a lot. So if you're talking to somebody and they say, what time do you get home from work? You can say, I go home at 3 or I come home at 3. And that lets the person know that every day after work, you go home at 3 or every day you come home at 3. So that's why this is important because so when you say they make dinner means they make dinner all the time. It doesn't mean they're making dinner tonight, just tonight. It's saying they do it a lot. They make dinner a lot. So, for example, I come home at 3 is different from I am coming home at 3. I am coming home at 3 means that whoever you're talking to, what you're saying means just for today, just for right now. This one, I come home at 3, means you do it every day or you do it a lot. I am coming home at 3 would mean that you are doing it just for today. So somebody could ask you, what time are you coming home? You could say, I am coming home at 3. And that's what that means. You do not need to add anything to the verb to make it present. So when you say come, it is already in the present form. Except for when you're talking about, instead of saying I or you or we or they, when you say he or she or it, you need to add an S sound at the end of the verb. That's the only thing you need to change when it's in present. So when you say, I come home at 3, it's just come because you said I. If you say you come home at 3, again, it's just come because you're talking about you. We come home at 3. We is more than one person. You're talking about another person, but it's more than one person. They come home at 3. Again, they and we are both plural because they're talking about more than one. You and I are talking about one person. He, she, or it, they're all talking about one person or another thing, but they're talking about somebody else that isn't you. So here, let me write it out for you. So I means one person. You means one person. We can mean lots of people. So 1, 2, 3 people. They can mean 3 people. And then he, she, or it is all one, but it's somebody else. So it's not you or I. So that's why we need to put an S sound at the end of it. So he comes home at 3, she comes home at 3, and it comes home at 3. So having the S at the end, you only need to use it when it says she or he or it. When it says any of these, or if it said Mark, because that's one other person, comes home at 3, or Julia comes home at 3. So I made another chart. So singular, one person or thing. I walk, you walk. Plural, one, more than one person or thing. So lots of people, or just 2. We walk, they walk. But if it's one person or thing and it's not I or you, you need to put a S sound at the end of the verb. So it's still going to be walk, but you put an S. So he walks, she walks, it walks. So, for example, this one says, I walk home. Since it's an I, we don't need to change anything about it. See, because we're looking right here. Because it says I, we just say walk home. You, like up here, we don't need to add anything, so it's you walk home. We is right here, it's just the verb, so we walk home. They walk home. And to show you kind of how these can look different, we can mean the same thing as if you say you and I. You and I is similar to we, so that's why for this one, it also just says walk. You don't need to add an S. You and I walk home. They walk home. Tom and Mary walk home. So even though we named people, so we named a he and a she, the reason it's just walk is because we said and. So it's putting these two together. So it's not just Tom or Mary, it's Tom and Mary. He walks home. We have to have the S at the end because of he. She walks home. S because of she. It walks home. We have to have the S because it's an it. So for he walks home, you would say Tom walks home, right? Because Tom is a he. And if you said Mary walks home, we put the S because it's she. Mary is a she. It walks home. The dog is it. That's what it means. The dog walks home. So that's why there's an S. The other thing about adding an S at the end of verbs is it changes how you say it. Sometimes if you just sounded out the word, it wouldn't sound right to a native English speaker. So even though this one says walks, right? So if you said I or you or they or we, it would just be walk. And that is really bad writing. Sorry about that. So this one would just be walk. But since it's he walks, she walks, it walks, the way it's pronounced is if you just said, the way it sounds is wa, a, k, s, walks. So even though there's an L in there, you would say it like this, walks. And again, he goes, she goes, it goes. So even though it's spelt G-O-E-S, which if you were sounding it out, it would be go-e-s, it's pronounced goes. G-O-Z, goes. And for this one, he sneezes, she sneezes, it sneezes. It sounds like sneezes, sneezes. So that's what this one sounds like. So even though it's spelled like this, it sounds like this. Sneezes. That's how you say that word. So whenever we add an S to the end of a verb, it's either going to make a S sound, a Z sound, or a S sound. These don't really have a trick to knowing, well, they do have a trick to know how to spell them, but to say them, you just have to remember how they're pronounced. So it's a lot of memorization, but it gets easier when you say it a lot. So if you looked at goes and you said it 5 times just to yourself, like if you said he goes, she goes, it goes, he goes, she goes, or if you just said goes, 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 goes. If you say it 5 times, it'll help you remember it. If you or want to try practicing, try and say the word with the right pronunciation 5 times, and that helps me to remember it better. So for this next, we're going to practice a little bit. So if we have the sentence, they say stay home. It says they, so that's why the verb is just say. And we pronounce that as s-a. So that one's really easy. So they say stay home. This one, because it's she, we have to add the S at the end. She says stay home. This one, even though it's spelled similar, the A makes like a eh sound, like an E. So this one is pronounced says. So it's a Z sound at the end. Says. I make breakfast. because it says I, we just say make. There's no S. He, because it's a he, makes breakfast. So this one's pronounced m-a-k. This one's pronounced m-a-k-s. He makes breakfast. I go home at 6. It's an I, so it's going to be just go. No S. But since this one says she goes home at 6, there's going to be an S at the end. So this one's just pronounced g-o. This one is pronounced g-o-z, goes. I take the bus. Because it's an I, we just say take. T-a-k, take. I take the bus. He takes the bus. Because we say he, it needs an S at the end. So if it said she or he or it, we got to put the S at the end. So he takes the bus. He takes the bus. You come back at 4. This one is you come back at 4. You come back at 4. This one, because we say she, we need a S at the end. She comes back at 4. Oh, I forgot the at right there. But she comes back at 4. So this one is pronounced comes. So this word sounds like this one. So all of these words right here next to the ears, that's just what they sound like. But this is how you spell them. And this is what they'll look like when you're reading. We see our family on the weekends. This one, regular verb, just see because it's a we. So it's just pronounced s-e. We see our family on the weekends. Since this one says she, we need to put an S. She sees her family on the weekends. This one is pronounced s-e-z, sees. She sees her family on the weekends. You get time off. This one is get, really easy. You get time off. Since this one starts with a he gets time off. So gets. He gets time off. They give us a ride. This one is pronounced g-i-v, give. They give us a ride. He gives us a ride. He gives us a ride. This one needs an S because there is a he in front of it. And this is pronounced g-i-v-s, gives. Next one, we find lots of trash in the street. Find, that's just the regular verb because we used we. So it's pronounced really easy, just like it's spelled, find. Find. We find lots of trash in the street. This one needs an S. Find needs an S because of the she. She finds lots of trash in the street. Finds. Finds. So it makes a z sound at the end instead of a s sound. So she finds lots of trash in the